start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land we meet in, the Darug people, and pay my respects to their elders past and present. And I look forward to all our elders in the future. It's really important to note that this is Aboriginal land. It always was, it is, and always will be Aboriginal land. I was asked to speak in English. Englishல பேசுங்கன்னு சொன்னாங்க. தமிழ்ல பேசுறேன்டா எந்த அக்சென்ட்ல கதைக்கணும், இப்படி கதைக்கணுமா, வீட்டுல கதைக்கிற மாதிரி, இல்லாட்டி இப்படி பேசலாமா அப்படி கேட்டேன். ஸோ பொன்ராஜ் என்ன சொன்னார்னா, நீங்கள் இங்கிலீஷில் பேசுங்க, நடுவில் ஏதாவது தமிழில் பேசுங்க, ஏன்னா என்டர்டெய்னிங்காக இருக்கணும்னு. So I'd like to acknowledge ஆசிரியர் தலைவர் வீரமணி ஐயா. What an honor it is to have him here with us. Thank you for coming all this way to see us. Thank you so much. Thank you, Aya. And comrade Arulmozhi Akka, thank you so much to see you in person. Having watched you speak on YouTube so many times and having learned so much, thank you so much. And former Senator and our friend and comrade Lee Rhiannon, thank you for being here with us. I say this at every stage that Lee is here, and I want to say this again. During the genocide in Tamilam, the only politician in federal parliament who stood for us, who spoke for us, who advocated a ceasefire was Senator Lee Rhiannon. We're forever indebted to Lee for her mentorship, her stewardship, her friendship and her leadership throughout the years, and she continues to do that every single day, right now, today, tomorrow, always. Thank you very much, Lee. And all of you comrades from Patca, what an inspiration you are. People ask me all the time, why do we need the Periyar and Ambedkar thought circle in Australia? What is this? Why are you bringing this stuff here? Because it's valid. It is needed. The discrimination, the oppression continues here on Australian soil. And we need to put in place policies, we need to put in place procedures and legislation to combat this. I also want to acknowledge our councillors. Councillor Sujan Selvan, this is your area. Thank you so much for having us. And Anna, Councillor Susai Benjamin. A big round of applause, come on. And also our comrade Emmanuel Selvaraj, congratulations on your win as a councillor in the Hills. Also with us is Dilwan Burkhan. Dilwan, can I ask you to stand, please? Dilwan is the Labor candidate for the Hills, for the Mitchell area. Dilwan is from the Kurdish community, and we stand shoulder to shoulder with our Kurdish brothers and sisters who have gone through genocide just like us. Thank you so much for being here with us. And all of you from various organisations across Sydney and media and all different groups, thank you so much for being here. It means so much to us that you came. And being here today, I'm sure, is a revolutionary act, because here you are at the very first of one of our largest meetings in front of Asriya, and what a historic day it is, and we will never, never forget it. International Women's Day first started off as International Working Women's Day by Clara Zetkin just after the First World War. She was a communist activist and politician, a leader, and she pushed towards equality for women in combating class oppression. Because capitalism was promised to be an equalizer. What it actually did was further put women into boxes and oppress them. And we see that now all of these years later, when we talk about International Women's Day, they easily forget the socialist and the communist roots, the working class struggle of why that day was formed, for the working women amongst us. It's really important today also to recognize, as I am supposed to speak about the women of colour in Australia and their place in politics, the First Nation, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander women. This country is yet to receive independence. We are not independent. Our head of state is the King of England, Charles. Right? We're in a non-independent country. In 1999, there was a vote, a referendum, and the question was asked, should Australia be a republic? And because the system is so skewed, where it had to be majority of votes in majority of states across Australia, it was a no. So quickly, they packed up the boxes, moved on, and continued their system. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people are fighting for recognition, a voice. They're fighting for a treaty. This is what they want. And it's an absolute shame that the referendum for a voice was lost. And it was lost by not just the conservative forces, but our so-called comrades in the left, who have sold their soul very quietly to the systems against the First Nations people. We cannot stand here and not talk about the discrimination and the oppression of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. I go to meetings again and again, like I go to meetings of South Asian groups and they say, "Adu fasta read panni mudichidunga and acknowledgement stuff. Topic ku poidunga. Aboriginal pesadinga." Right? It's important. We are standing here on a genocidal land. And it is really important that in our lifetimes that we work towards reconciliation, but also towards a treaty of our First Nations people. So what is this women of colour in politics stuff? What does that mean? Why are we here? Why are we doing this? There are 227 MPs in the federal parliament. There are 4 Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander MPs who are women, and 8 women who come from a heritage that is non-European. So all up, out of 227, there are 12 that come from a non-European background. Truly a minority. I can even say who they are. There's Sally Situ, Zanita Mascarenas, Fatima Payman, Marine Faruqi, and our very own Michelle Anandaraja, and several others. It is an important topic because the first migration from India was almost 200 years ago. It was a very long time ago. So why aren't our people, the South Asian people, people of colours, why are they so underrepresented in politics? It might be because we come from a background of struggle. We're working class people. We have migrated or we've come to Australia as refugees. My mother and I came as refugees from Sri Lanka, right? I'd like to say we fled Sri Lanka. Our heart still is in Tamilulam. This very hall, I was 11 years old when my mother would bring me to do volunteer work on the weekends with an organisation that did Meals on Wheels for older people. So that kitchen at the back is where they cooked the meals and they took it to people. And Amma introduced them to curries little by little. She said, "This one is not spicy. This is the one we're going to do. So here I am all these years later, a refugee woman in the area that I grew up in, where I live and raise my children, where I work, where I shop, where I eat. Why am I in politics? It wasn't an ambition to become a politician, like you become a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer. It wasn't a push towards trying to find some sort of employable position. It wasn't a passion to be in front of people. It was because politics was pushed into me. When I was 14 years old, I got a part-time job at KFC. You know, the fried chicken place. ஐயா தெரியுங்களா, சாப்பிட்டுருக்கீங்களா? KFCல 14 வயசுல ஜாப் எடுத்தேன். KFC கடையில 14 வயசுல வேலைக்கு போனாங்களா? ஸ்கூல் படிக்கும்போது. ஆமா. So I didn't get enough shifts at the KFC in North Parramatta. So I took some shifts at the KFC at Westfields Parramatta. And I'd wear my uniform in year 9, and after school, I'd go over to Westfields Parramatta and try to change my outfit into my uniform to do my shift, and then I'd finish my shift and go home. And the security guards at the Westfields were terrible to our school students in the late 90s. They wouldn't allow us to come in with our uniforms. They wouldn't allow us to have a break at the food court. We faced a lot of harassment. And after school one day, I was watching TV on ABC, and there was a show called Behind the News. And it talked about how if you have a problem, you should go see your local member of parliament. So I went to Amma and I said, Amma, நான் இந்த எம்பியா வேற பார்க்கணும், இந்த பிரச்சனை இருக்கு அந்த செக்யூரிட்டி. எம்பிட்டெல்லாம் போகக்கூடாது, அதெல்லாம் பாலிட்டிக்ஸ் எல்லாம் உங்களுக்கு சரி வராது, நீ உண்ட வேலையை பாரு, இல்லாட்டி விட்டுட்டு வேற எங்கேயாவது வேலையை பாரு. That was my mother, which was, don't get into politics, it's not what we're here for, find another job or do something else. But I saw an MP come to my school for a school presentation day, and so I looked up the address on the Yellow Pages book. After school, I walked to his office. It was Ross Cameron's office, and I said, I would like to speak to Ross Cameron. And they said, no, just go away, come back later, that's not going to happen. And then I was at a Tamil community event at Parramatta Park, and I saw another politician come and speak, Laurie Ferguson. And I thought, oh, he seems really friendly. He looks jolly, a little bit like Santa Claus. I think I will go up and speak to him. So I looked up the address and I went over to Laurie's office in Granville, walked all the way there. I walked into the office and I said, my name is Durga, I'm in year 9, I'd like to speak to Laurie Ferguson. And they said, he's in a meeting, we'll find out. They went in, he was in a meeting, but he came out and he said, how can I help you? And then I told him my story and he said, I don't drive, but will you walk there with me? And I said, of course, Laurie, I will. And so we walked from his office, we walked 40 minutes to Westfields, and he walked in and spoke to centre management, and then he said, don't worry, we'll get you in to sort this out. And then the next day I got a call from a Parramatta councillor, Maureen Walsh, saying, come to a meeting with centre management and security. So there was a big table, I sat there, I told them what I needed to tell, and they said, we're changing the policy. And Maureen said, what else can I help you with? And I said, I have a lot more problems. My friends have a few more problems. How can I tell you about them? And she said, why don't you start some kind of youth advisory committee? So at 14, I established the Parramatta Youth Advisory Committee at Parramatta Council. I have been in politics ever since. since the age of 14. And I can tell you the reason that we did this is because we were from a refugee background and there were very few South Asian migrants. We didn't have community leaders and we had divisions. We had divisions to do with class. Those who came on skilled migration visas as doctors and engineers and whatnot, and the rest of us, kaiya thooki vandakal, ahadihal. Right? That division exists to this day. Absolutely. These divisions are patriarchal divisions. These divisions are dividing our communities and making us visitors in a country where we are citizens. We are second because class, caste, religion, and gender play a big part in who we are. And that needs to change. And so, I know I talk a lot, so I'm going to wrap up a little bit. But I want to say is that women have long carried the weight of history, tradition, and expectations. We're told we're the backbone of our families. We are told that we're the quiet forces holding everything together. We are told that we birth leaders as long as they're men. We're told we can be leaders as long as they're in domestic spaces within our homes and our community organizations. How many community organizations in the Tamil community have women leading them? How many community organizations in the Tamil community in Sydney have 50% women in the committees, in the membership? The results are sobering. We cannot be sitting there educating our daughters so they become instruments of entertainment or an extra pay packet for somebody else. நீங்க படிக்கிறீங்கல்ல, education இருக்குது, வேலை எடுத்து போறீங்க, jeans போடுறீங்க, shorts போடுறீங்க, Facebookல இருக்கீங்க, எங்க பாட்டிகளுக்கெல்லாம் வந்து வாஷிங் மெஷினே இருக்கல. உங்களுக்கெல்லாம் எவ்வளோ ஈஸியாக இருக்குது, வாஷிங் மெஷின் இருக்குது, ஸ்டோவ் டாப் இருக்குது, மைக்ரோவேவ் இருக்குது, எல்லாம் போட்டு ஹாட்டாக பண்ணி எடுக்கிறீங்க. இதுதான் ஃபெமினிசம், உங்களுக்கு ஈக்குவாலிட்டி இருக்குது. இதை சொல்லாமல் சொல்கிறாங்க எந்த நாளும். எங்கள் வீட்டுகளில் சொல்கிறாங்க, நாங்கள் ஒர்க் பண்ணுற இடத்துல சொல்கிறாங்க, எல்லா இடத்துலையும் சொல்கிறாங்க. ரைட்? ஆனால் அந்த ஸ்பேசஸ் ஆஃப் லீடர்ஷிப் இல்லவே இல்லை. எங்கள் பொலிட்டிக்கல் பார்ட்டிஸில் கூடி ஒய்ஃபை வந்து கூட்டு வந்து சேர்ப்பாங்க. எதுக்கு தெரியுமா? அந்த ப்ரீ செலெக்ஷன் ஓட் வரும்ல, அந்த ஓட் வரும்போது கூட்டிகிட்டு வருவாங்க. வந்து ஓட் போடு, என்னோட தோழருக்கு, என்னோட ஃப்ரெண்டுக்கு போடுறதுக்கு வாங்க. எல்லா நாட்டிலையும் வா. என்ன மாதிரி ஒரு இப்படி பேசினா என்ன சொல்லுவாங்க தெரியுமா? அந்த பொம்பளை எப்படி பேசுறா பாரு. ஓகே, எங்கட கதையில சொன்னா அவ கனக கதைப்பா, துர்காவோட கதைச்சு தப்பேலாது. எம்பி ஆவோவோ இல்லையோ, நடக்குதோ இல்லையோ, இன்னும் வெல்ல முடியாத சீட்ல எல்லாம் போய் நிற்கிறாவ. ஏனண்டா politics is not just electoral politics. I told you my story because I didn't go after politics. Politics became me. This struggle of being a woman and a migrant woman, a refugee woman, a woman growing up in this country, where all of the patriarchy that we broke down in the Tamilulam struggle, we brought here. And this country, the so-called democracy, is an oppressive state that doesn't recognize its First Nations people. The policies are polarized by patriarchy. Sexism is seeping through the system. Discrimination at every turn. They like to get up and say our government is 50% female. They'd like to tell us the Senate is more than 50% representation. But they couldn't find a woman to lead those parties. Not all. Not all. Some of these parties. And what I'm saying to you is a call of action. Because you're comrades. We're one group. I'm speaking to the converters. Right? What I'm saying is, go back to the Tamil organizations you belong in. To your churches, to your temples, your Tamil schools, right? Your Chamber of Commerce's, Vartaha Sangam, right? All boys associations, of course, possibly can't, but we should also in those groups talk about recognizing trans women's rights. You cannot talk feminism, you can't talk equality if you don't recognize trans rights. Right? And let's talk Palestine. I am so surprised that our people who have gone through decades, hundreds of years of oppression, and still go through now, in India, through this disastrous Modi government, and in Sri Lanka, no matter which government comes in, Ulam people are last. When we talk about Palestine, people say, but they're Muslims. So what? Comrades, recognize that we will never have liberation anywhere unless we shoulder the burdens of our other brothers and sisters across the world. Today, the 15th of March, is the International Day to combat Islamophobia. It is very, very important. I know these things are challenging us. We hear these concepts and we're like, it doesn't apply to me. You don't know what's happened on the other side. We can turn another leaf. We can have a call to action and we can make a difference in our little groups. Raise your daughters to lead. Give them opportunities to lead. Bring your wives. And don't ask women like me, சமைச்சு வச்சிட்டு வந்தீங்களா? அவர் போட்டு சாப்பிடுவாரா? இல்லாட்டி தட்டுல போட்டு வச்சிட்டு வரணுமா? பசங்க சாப்பிட்டாங்களா? இப்ப நீங்க இங்க இருக்கீங்க, சாப்பிடுற டைம் அவங்க என்ன பண்றாங்க? யாரு படிப்பிக்கிறாங்க? தமிழ் தெரியுமா? அவர் வெள்ளைக்காரர்ல, சோ உங்களுக்கு ஈஸியா தான் இருக்கும். இதெல்லாம் பேசாதீங்க தோழர்ஸ். பணியாவே இல்லைங்க. அடுத்ததா முக்கியமா நான் என்ன சொல்ல வரேன்னா, see politicians as equals to us. They are cringing, comrades, when people in the community come up to them and say, thank you for wearing a sari. Thanks so much for wearing a veshti. Thank you, so amazing. எப்பயாச்சு somebody tell me, உங்களுக்கு ஒரு வெள்ளைக்காரன் வந்து சொல்லிருக்கான், thank you so much for wearing jeans and trousers. Thank you for speaking English and upholding my language and culture. ஏன் தாழ்த்து யோசிக்கிறீங்க இப்படி? அதுவும் வேறு இனத்தவர் வந்து எங்க மொழிய பேசினாலோ, சாப்பாடு சாப்பிட்டாலோ, எங்கள் உடைய உடுத்தினாலோ எங்க தோழரா நீங்க நினைக்கணும். அவங்கள வந்து விழுந்து விழுந்து அப்ரிஷியேட் பண்ணாதீங்க. So humble, வேஷ்டி கட்டி வந்திருக்காரு. What are you trying to say? எங்க ஆடை அவங்கள விட கீழே இருக்கா? எங்க சாப்பாடு கம்மியா இருக்கா? எங்க தொழில் எங்க இருக்கா? யாரை மீட் பண்ணாலும் நீங்க எங்க இருக்கீங்க, உங்க பசங்க எந்த யூனிவர்சிட்டி படிக்கிறாங்க, எந்த டிகிரி படிக்கிறாங்க, இதெல்லாம் கேட்டு என்ன தெரிய வருது? அடுத்ததா கேளுங்க, உங்க பொண்ணு லீடரா? எங்க ஆர்கனைசேஷன்ல ஜாயின் பண்ணுவாங்களா? போர்ட் ஆஃப் டைரக்டர்ஸ்ல சேர்த்துக்கலாமா? கேளுங்களேன். அதுவும் ஒரு 10 பேர் இருக்கிற ஒரு டேபிள்ல 9 ஆண்கள் ஒரு பெண் இருந்தால் அந்த ஒரு பெண்ணை ஏத்தி விடுங்க. ஏன்னா அந்த பொண்ணு ஏறி வந்தா மற்றவங்க எல்லாம் கூட்டிட்டு அந்த ஃபுல் டேபிளும் பெண்களா இருக்கலாம். அந்த ஒரு பெண் எலெக்ஷனுக்கு நிற்கிறாங்களோ, அந்த டேபிள்ல இருக்காங்களோ, ஒரு பதவியில இருக்காங்களோ, அவங்கள எப்படியாவது கட் பண்ணிட்டு நான் உட்கார்ந்துருக்கணும். எப்படி நீ பொண்ணு வருவ? நாங்க ஆண்கள் எல்லாம் பார்லிமெண்ட் வந்ததுக்கு அப்புறம் நீங்கெல்லாம் குவைட் ஆவாங்க, நாங்க எல்லாம் 30 வருஷம் கஷ்டப்பட்டுட்டோம், நீங்க இப்பதானே வந்தீங்க அப்படின்னு எல்லாம் நாங்க சொல்ல தேவையில்லை. Let's make things easier for our girls. We have struggled and we have made it easier. Susai Benjamin has paved the way for 30 years. So Emmanuel and Sujan could be sitting here because he went through the rigid white privileged systems, the racist systems of our political parties to get here so that somebody else can get here a little bit easy. So I'd like to finish my talk by saying there are barriers for women here in Australia in politics, but there is hope because I'm proud of you. People like Yaso, Tamil councillor in Canning, Western Australia, people like Michelle Anandaraja and Ashwini Ambihapar, who is the candidate for Barton in Sydney here, and people like Marine Faruqi have made their way there. And those people are inspirations. And in 10 or 20 years, Durga might not be an MP, right? But the Priya sitting next to you, your daughter Ashwini at home, you, Kala, might be. Let's walk together in solidarity. Happy International Women's Day.
இங்கு எல்லோரையும் வியக்க வைத்த துர்கா அவர்களுக்கு நம்முடைய ஆசிரியர் அவர்கள் பெரியார் ஃபெமினிசம் என்ற நூலை அன்பளிப்பாக அளிக்கிறார்.
நன்றி ஐயா. Thank you. Thank you.
Wish you well.
Thank you.